We had temporarily left the Samburu National Reserve, driving through a gate to a bridge crossing the Ewaso Ngiro River. The waters were as brown and muddy as the local name suggested, and a few water birds inhabited the banks, like a yellow-billed stork and black-headed heron, all good for the day list. Here we unpacked our picnic boxes and settled down for lunch, perched on the side of the river. Another couple of grey-headed kingfishers were in the foliage on the side of the river. 4 non-aquatic kingfishers. They certainly seemed to like it just here. Kenya red-headed rockogamas were basking on rocks at the side of the track. A small group of African silverbills bounced through the foliage. They were very hard to pin down as they liked to skulk in the depths of the plants. Samburu's motto is "Where nature defies itself," relating to the story of a lioness called Kamunyak who adopted a baby oryx rather than eat it, which would be the more normal occurrence. The story is illustrated on the reserve gateway. A northern red-billed hornbill was perched on top. We were enjoying the hornbill sighting when a commotion in a nearby tree turned out to be Red-bellied Parrot, new for the trip and a lifer. It meant that the hornbill got short shrift as all eyes moved to the parrot. Across the track from the parrot was a pearl-spotted owlet. Although these owls mostly hunt at night, they are also active in the day. In fact, there was more than one owl here since it started to call and was answered. Obviously we had found a pair, since the birds are monogamous and highly territorial. Now we were back across the track at the parrot tree. The parrot had moved on, but we now came across a pair of African bare-eyed thrush, our first of this species, and a lifer. Also in the area were white-headed buffalo weavers, white-browed sparrow weavers, and a Wahlberg's eagle soared overhead. Lunch was over and it was time to load up the vans and negotiate our way back onto the reserve. Just inside the gate a fine white-throated bee-eater showed very well. It wasn't long before we were back amongst savanna elephants and their attendant western cattle egrets. These two females enjoyed some nice green vegetation whilst the mother and calf had found some fresh water for a cooling drink. This western cattle egret was obviously adept at keeping out of the way of those enormous elephant feet. A tree full of beautiful superb starlings was a cheerful sight. And a single wattled starling was hanging around too. We rounded a bend in the track and came across a magnificent adult martial eagle, sitting on a bare tree just to one side. This is the largest eagle in Africa. We had seen a juvenile on a nest yesterday, but this was an adult, in full, gloriously spotty, plumage. It sat and watched, as we sat and watched it. Moving on, and we found a nice flock of vulturine guineafowl, always worth a view. A female Nubian woodpecker was scrabbling away on the ground at the base of a tree. A nice little group of crested francolins turned up next. We had seen these in Baringo, a fleeting view at the side of the road, but not as good a view as we were now treated to. It was much more fitting for a very smart-looking bird and a lifer on this trip. A tree full of, what turned out to be, white-backed vultures. We had seen these in the Masai Mara, but mainly as flyover birds. It was great to get a chance at sitting birds. And another cisticler, rattling cisticler in fact. This was to be the most common cisticler in this region, at least for us. There were more of the Necky horses here too. So far we had found 4 of the Samburu Big Five, Reticulated Giraffe, Beisa Oryx, Gerenik and Grevy zebra, but had not seen hide nor hair, or feather, of the 5th. As this was a bird, the Somali Ostrich, it was potentially a bit of a failure for a birding tour. We would have to make strenuous efforts to find them this afternoon. In the meantime we enjoyed more looks at another of those lovely Beisa Oryx, with the strikingly stripy faces. This one even deigned to show its face, however briefly, as it shared its foraging area with a common impala. This male fisher's sparrowlark was only the second we'd seen on the tour. Not everyone saw the ones in the Masai Mara, so this was a nice pullback for those who were missing the bird from their list. Chestnut weavers were again nicely visible here in Samburu. We were driving east along the edge of the Ewaso Ngiro River. This is lined with safari camps, some with interesting names like Elephant's Bedroom. The dominant tree was the branch-trunk doom palm. The edge of the river was pretty well wooded and had birds, like a lovely black-bellied sunbird. This was the only one of these spectacular birds we would see, and a lifer. We were still racking up the ticks, even at this late stage of the tour. It was nice to see another little bee-eater too. Time to enjoy more Crested Francolins, destined to be the last ones we would see on the tour and so worth a good look. Another treat, a second male red-bellied parrot sitting in a very spiny acacia tree. And there is always time to look at lilac-breasted roller. Our first black-necked weavers since the Kakamega forest showed quite nicely. Now, this was good. A pied cuckoo bobbed up in a trackside bush. It wasn't too keen on being visible, but it was our first and only one of the trip, and a lifer, so it definitely rated a good looking at. The cuckoo would have had an even longer looking at if a very busy group of violet woodhoopoes hadn't turned up in an adjacent tree. All eyes swiveled towards them. We had seen green woodhoopoe at Bush Baby Camp in Baringo. These were our first and only violet woodhoopoes. And very splendid birds they were too. When we turned back to where the cuckoo had been, it had left. A little further along, black-winged kites showed nicely. Finding Somali Ostrich was getting urgent. It was late afternoon and we would need to be off the reserve roads by 6:30. We couldn't miss out on the last of the Samburu Big Five. We turned away from the riverbank and headed back into the interior of the park. The ostriches like arid bushland. Would we be lucky? The two vans actually went in separate directions, quartering the park tracks in search of our quarry. If one group found ostriches, then they would radio the others who would hopefully also get to see them. It was a good plan, especially for our van as we finally found some. A couple of males, one with the distinctive blue neck and legs of the adult male, and a female, wandering through the dry bush. Well, it was a relief to find our leggy birds. It would have been a sad gap on our trip list and our life lists if we had missed out on seeing these. Oh, and we did radio the other van, who hot-footed it over and managed to see them too. It was getting late on what had been a very successful day. We turned towards the lodge but were ready to take a look at anything interesting on the way, like a small group of male and female black-faced sand grouse. Such smart birds. An unusual sighting of a small group of Grevy zebra had us stopping for a look. Unlike the plain zebra, Grevy are much more solitary and we had found only single animals so far. Now we had a group of 3 animals, keeping a wary eye on us as they grazed. Oh, and there were more vulturine guineafowl too. We found an eastern chanting goshawk enjoying its evening meal up in a tree. We had seen very few other safari tours here. Although it wasn't high season for safaris anyway, Samburu seemed to be a lot quieter than the Mara Triangle, which in turn was quieter than the Masai Mara. It certainly was a good choice for an off-the-beaten-track safari. Late afternoon seemed to be our best chance to pick up Kori Bustard. We had done so yesterday, on our way to the lodge, and we were similarly graced this afternoon. Kori Bustard is Africa's largest flying bird, and the male might be the heaviest living animal that is capable of flight. They do seem to spend more time on the ground though. Another leggy bird to finish off the day then. We returned to the lodge as night was falling. It had been a great stay in Samburu Reserve, but tomorrow we would have to leave the very comfortable Sopa Samburu Lodge and head off again for our last night in Kenya, to be spent on the slopes of Mount Kenya. First though, we would have a short wander in the grounds and a slow trundle back to the Umoja Gate. Who knows what we would see? For more about our trip, see our 3-volume travelogue, in ebook and paperback form, from Amazon. Interested in birding Mexico? We have videos on our YouTube channel and travelogues available from Amazon. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss the other videos in our Kenyan Birding Safari series. Thanks for watching.